So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, today we are finishing up the 2023 draft of the Detroit Lions. We have gone through every single pick, starting at pick 12, working our way down, and today we're finally at the end. We are at the 219th overall selection. And with the 219th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions selected Antoine Green, wide receiver from North Carolina, to not only fill a need, not only fill a role, but potentially be a day one impact player. Now, today we're going to take a look at Antoine Green. We're going to take a look at the 219th overall pick from the 2023 NFL draft class, a wide receiver that wasn't talked about a whole lot in the pre-draft process, and a wide receiver that a lot of people didn't think the Lions were going to select. The position is one that a lot of Lions fans thought would be addressed early in the first round or early in the second round with guys like Quentin Johnston or A.T. Perry or any of the big body true X wide receivers from this class. But the Lions ended up waiting till the 7th round. They ended up getting a player in Antoine Green that had very little draft hype, but really should have gotten a little bit more. Taking a look at his 2022 stats, Antoine Green had 43 receptions for the Tar Heels, totaling 798 yards, averaging 18.6 yards per reception, as well as 7 touchdowns on the season. Now, he got better every single year. In 2021, he had 31 receptions for 612 yards and averaged 19.7 yards per reception. This year had a little bit more volume. The average depth of target came down a little bit, but still averaged nearly 19 yards per reception as the wide receiver 2 for the Tar Heels of North Carolina. Now, taking a look at his strengths and weaknesses, his pros, obviously his size and speed. He is a 6'2", 4'4" wide receiver that can absolutely stretch the field, has really good length, has, decent enough speed to get down the field. It reminds me a lot of Marvin Jones. He's a player that measures very similarly to Marvin Jones when he was coming out, a player that statistically was relatively similar to Marvin Jones coming out, as well as just from a measurements standpoint and a speed standpoint is really similar. Now, Antoine Green is really good at high pointing the football. He's somebody that, is your traditional X wide receiver, a 6'2", 4'7" guy that can go up and get the ball, is really good at tracking the ball through the air, has really strong hands at the point of attack, and is a big play threat on every single play. Now, obviously, he's not the big play threat in the same way that Jameson Williams is, right? You're not going to give him a screen pass or an end around and have him average 40 yards of reception. But this is a player that has vertical speed. This is a player that can get vertical in an offense and stretch the field in a similar way that Marvin Jones did for a long time as the Detroit Lions wide receiver 1. This is a player that has the speed to go up and high point the football and has the size to go up and high point the football like Marvin Jones did for a long time in Detroit. And he has the strong hands. He has the big playability, and really the only thing holding back Antoine Green from being a bigger wide receiver in this class was his production and his role at North Carolina, right? He was behind Josh Downs. He was behind a lot of the North Carolina wide receivers that have come out over the last couple of years that have gotten a higher target share, that have gotten more plays in their way and have gotten more plays designed for them to succeed, while Antoine Green was really one of those players in the background. He was a wide receiver 3. He was a wide receiver 4. He was, not necessarily having the biggest target share, but was really effective with the target shares that he had, right? A player that averaged over 19 yards per reception in his collegiate career is a player that can make plays in the NFL. And if you go out and watch the highlights, Antoine Green is a player that consistently over and over and over again makes big plays, makes plays in big moments, has the ability to run after the catch because of his speed, has the ability to create separation downfield because of his length, because of his stride, because of his speed. And when he is kind of one-on-one with defenders, when he is having to go up in a jump ball situation, he can do that too. Taking a look at his RAS score, having an 8.68 RAS score, which is well above average at the NFL level. 32 plus inch arms, 6'1", almost 6'2", 199 pounds. Not elite, but certainly not bad, right? A 4.47 speed is well above average in the NFL with a 2.58 20-yard split and a 1.51 10-yard split, both of which are really, really good, showing his elite quickness off the line of scrimmage and showing that his ability to kind of be quick before he's fast, if that makes sense. His explosiveness grade was okay. 33.5-inch vertical jump was very below average, but a 10'3" broad jump was above average. So his explosiveness is not bad. His agility, a 4.27 shuttle, as well as a 6.99 3-cone, are all times that you would expect out of a wide receiver. They're not necessarily going to blow you out of the water, but they're not bad either. Coming in with a relatively good RAS score with good to okay athleticism across the board, but really good, I think, sneaky speed, because he doesn't look very fast when he's running. He doesn't look like a speedster down the field. And I think that's because he has long legs. He has a really good long stride, which helps him create separation, but he doesn't look like he's moving very fast. Doesn't necessarily look the part when running as a deep wide receiver, but does that role in a very, very good manner. Now, overall, I think this is a B plus grade. I genuinely believe that with the suspension of Jameson Williams, Antoine Green can be a field stretcher in the NFL. I think he can be an X wide receiver at the NFL, and I think he can become what Marvin Jones has become in the NFL, which is a good wide receiver two, maybe a lower end wide receiver one, a player that plays on the boundary almost entirely, but has the speed to get vertical, has the strong hands to create tough catches, and just has a good NFL skill set. He works very hard, improved every single year. And if it wasn't for injuries and North Carolina just developing wide receivers at a relatively high level, I think Antoine Green would have been a bigger name in this draft class. I think Antoine Green would have been a better player in this draft class. And I think that he can impact on day one. If you tell me the Lions go out day one and their X wide receiver is Marvin Jones, their Z wide receiver on the opposite boundary is Antoine Green, and in between them is Amon-Ra St. Brown or Khalif Raymond, I think that there's a role. I think in red zone drills, I think that in, early down situations where you might need that deep threat, or you might want a bigger wide receiver for a go ball, I think Antoine Green can kind of be what Quintez Cephas was early in his career, right? Where they drafted Quintez Cephas in the 5th round. They had him kind of sit, they had him wait. In training camp, some injuries came up and they had to play Quintez Cephas early in his rookie year. Ended up starting his first game of it as a rookie against the Chicago Bears, and ended up seeing, I believe, a good number of targets in his first ever game as an X wide receiver. I think that's what Antoine Green can be. I think he can slide in day one and be a solid X to Z wide receiver. I think he's somebody that can slide in day one and be impactful. Obviously, probably isn't going to be your long-term X wide receiver unless he does become Marvin Jones, which is his ceiling. But as far as day one, I think you're getting a better Quintez Cephas. You're getting somebody that can come in, can play starting reps, has the ball skills, has at least a good amount of speed to create separation, is going to fight and compete for the football. I think this is going to be a training camp standout. I think this is somebody that's going to improve throughout training camp, is going to impress people throughout training camp, is going to get time in the preseason, and is going to show out much like Kenny Golladay did as a 3rd-round selection by the Detroit Lions several years ago, where, went into the preseason, made a lot of big plays, and ended up becoming a starting wide receiver by time the NFL season rolled around. But with all that being said, that is all I really have for Antoine Green. I think a really good, solid depth wide receiver, potentially wide receiver X to start the season with the Jameson Williams suspension. But with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below, how do you grade this pick? Do you think that Antoine Green can play in the NFL? Do you think he's going to start in the NFL in week 1 for the Detroit Lions, or even have a role in the Lions offense in week 1? I'd be very curious to hear what you guys have to say and how you guys grade this pick as far as addressing the wide receiver position in the draft. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you get down below and like the video as well as subscribe. It would help the channel out a ton. But with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions!